it just me, or was Scooby-Doo Zombie Island actually terrifying? Instead of using masked criminals posing as monsters, the Scooby-Doo gang is up against an actual voodoo cult, not to mention like 1,000 real dead zombies. The marketing material from 1998 even advertised this straight-to-VHS movie as way spookier and darker than the original series, with the tagline, "This time, the monsters are real." What? That's why this show was supposed to scare me less than X-Files. Rewatching this as an adult, I have no idea how I got through watching it as a kid without pussing out. Literally. Screw those cat people, am I right? I'm Winnie Van Landingham, and today I'm gonna ruin Scooby-Doo Zombie Island. Alright, so this movie starts off just like any other Scooby-Doo, with that dumb stoner and his pothead dog running for their lives from a monster in a haunted castle. Dude, you guys hate monsters and you fight them all the time! Maybe if you laid off the sativa, you'd be a little less paranoid that the crooked real estate agent is actually a moat monster. About 4 minutes in, we find out that the real horror around these parts is that Mystery Inc. isn't even together anymore. I'm sorry, but since when are grown-up jobs in the real world less boring than ripping monster masks off crazy old guys? It's not like you're in short supply. They're all out there running around, embezzling millions, slathering their old wrinkly bodies in latex. Wait a minute. Is being a Scooby-Doo villain a sex thing? Like, do 8-Man and the Grim Creeper leave their masks on while they do the monster mash? That's the real mystery. Anyways, apparently Daphne, Fred, Velma, and Shaggy are no longer high school sleuths, but actual grown-ups capable of working real jobs. Is that really the result of the gang getting bored of fighting crime? Or is that because they graduated the 12th grade and realized that they weren't making any money driving that gas-guzzling mystery machine around, taking down geriatric teratophilics? Who's to say? Either way, it's really sad. Daphne and Fred are clearly the only ones doing well. Oh, and that whole "we all went separate ways because we were bored" thing is BS. You and Fred started hooking up and probably became insufferable for your single friends to be around. There's no way in hell these two weed heads are gonna voluntarily work a custom jobs at the airport when they could be cruising around in a van like Aerosmith in the 70s, eating french fries and 3-foot subs and entire chocolate cakes. At least Velma's job is believable. As a grown-up, Baby Girl owns a mystery bookshop, which would be totally perfect for her if it wasn't such a niche small business. Like, damn Velma, I know it's 1998, but you have some long, harsh years of Kindles and Nooks and iBooks coming at ya. Daphne, if you and Fred don't see your friends anymore, it's probably because you're both too busy sucking face on the set of Daphne Coast to Coast to hang out with them. You guys were supposed to be friends forever. Am I gonna get too old? Is Chris gonna not want to make videos with me anymore? Am I gonna die alone surrounded by cats on Moonscar Island? Because Fred is probably sick of seeing his girlfriend at work all day and not being able to get baked with his friends at night, he invites Shaggy, Velma, and Scooby to come celebrate Daphne's birthday on the road. Daphne is on a mission to find a real haunted house with a real ghost. None of this whole "it was just a weirdo in a full leather suit" baloney. She wants the real thing. Okay, crazy. The gang piles into the mystery machine and they're off! Unfortunately, they keep running into spooky old mansions full of werewolf sluts and Swamp Thing perverts instead of the real deal. Daphne will not be happy until she finds a ghost that doesn't have a human criminal body and isn't trying to gangbang other old dudes in costumes. Luckily, at the exact moment when Daphne is about to super hurt Velma's feelings by calling her boring one more time, a super hot chef named Lena Dupree pops out of nowhere and invites them to her haunted house. That's convenient. Definitely nothing suspicious there. Come on guys, if a hot girl shows up and is like, "Hey mister, I got a big bad ghost for you to see," don't go with her. She doesn't actually have a ghost. She probably wants to lock you in her murder basement and turn you into cat food. Because Fred thinks Lena is banging, he hits on her in front of his girlfriend and then RSVPs the rest of the gang for a near-death experience in the bayou. Also, guys, your friend is literally so high he's eating dog treats. It's time for an intervention. Clearly this movie came out in 1998 because none of these people have seen nearly enough episodes of Unsolved Mysteries to be super freaked out by two total strangers taking them to an undisclosed location in the middle of a swamp. Seriously, no one would ever find their corpses out there. For all you guys know, Lena and Jacques are the goddamn Craigslist killers. All of a sudden, Lena starts freaking out that Scooby-Doo is a dog, which is how you immediately know not to trust her. I'm not saying that all cats are bad, I'm just saying that cat people are probably more likely to stare you in the eye while ripping your body into pieces with their claws than dog people are. Shaggy lies through his teeth and tells her that his 200-pound Great Dane is great with cats, so Lena says it's chill if they come over after all. On the way over, Shaggy and Scooby fall into the swamp and are almost eaten alive by alligators until Mark Hamill with a fishing gaff, aka Snakebite Scruggs, saves them by using the Force. Or his hook thing. Honestly, getting mauled by alligators would have sucked, but not as much as barreling straight towards an island immediately after like 2 people told you that no one has ever returned from the depths of the bayou. When they arrive at Simone Lenoir's house, Scoob decides to chase her cats around the property, which greatly displeases the sexy, cranky gardener. To be fair, it is pretty inconsiderate to bring a friggin' Great Dane to a total stranger's home and then expect them to just be cool with it, but stoners aren't known to be particularly anticipatory of others' needs, besides snacks. Speaking of snacks, it turns out that the plantation they're visiting grows the hottest peppers in Louisiana, an important fun fact to remember for later. Shortly after idiotically devouring another pepper that's gonna ignite their buttholes in a fiery rage the next time they poop, Scooby and Shaggy witness an invisible spirit writing "Get Out, Beware" on the wall, and the ghost hunt is on. Instead of doing exactly that, Daphne keeps on filming. Oh my god, you're gonna get murdered by a ghost, and not like the sexy dead Patrick Swayze kind. As she's filming, Velma starts to levitate, which is exactly the moment when I'd exit this Chris Angel mind freak nightmare. That's horrifying, dude. I know they're expecting Casper, but Mystery Inc. is about to meet the demon that pops up behind Patrick Wilson in Insidious. When Daphne and the gang review Fred's footage, Lena confirms that the ghost that appears on tape is in fact Morgan Moonshine. Damn, his handwriting is pretty good for wielding a pirate sword at the wall. Next, Velma tries to go all HGTV on this house by scraping the paint off the wall to see if there's shiplap underneath. Unfortunately, there's no shiplap, but there is part of Moonscar's boat, the Maelstrom, being used as paneling. At this point, the gang has destroyed a planter box, eaten all their food, and defaced private property, so there has to be a sinister reason why Simone and Lena don't want them to leave the house. Except Scooby. He's gotta eat outside so that he won't bother her dumb cats. Of course, they end up getting chased through the woods by 1/3 of a BLT and falling into a giant hole. But while they're down there, Shaggy shakes loose some rocks, and out falls a skeleton and the ghost that haunts it. Adrenaline hits Shaggy at just the right moment, and he manages to climb out of this huge, unmarked bayou grave, pulling Scooby out with him. When they bump into Bo, the hot, muscular, grumpy gardener, and the rest of the gang, they tell them that they just ran into the zombie of Morgan Moonscar. Velma immediately suspects Bo, because even though she wants to tear through his tank top with her teeth, licking every one of his abs as she makes her way down to Blowjob Town, he is so grumpy. He has to be a murderer. She's like, guys, I think that incredibly bangable guy with strong, rough hands and a bad attitude is probably behind all these ghosts. And Daphne's like, shut up, Velma, Bo is so freaking hot. Even though the rest of the group really wants to get out of there, Daphne insists on having a sleepover at the demon house. While Shaggy's getting dressed for dinner, a Civil War ghost appears in his bedroom mirror. Obviously, Scooby and Shaggy both freak out, probably because the ghost was racist AF, and run to tell their friends. While checking the back of the mirror for an inscription about the Confederate soldier who owned it, Velma realizes that she lost her eyeglasses cleaner. Remember that point for later too. Because Scooby can't leave these cats alone, he and Shaggy are forced to eat dinner outside in the Mystery Machine. No idea why Scooby can talk but the cats can't, but that's some good old-fashioned goofy Pluto logic for you. The cats must have some kind of death wish because they keep following Scooby around, cruising for a bruising. To get away from them, Shaggy drives deep into the bayou. You know, a totally great idea when there's literal zombies out there waiting to snatch you. Which is exactly what happened. Zombies start popping out of the ground like super gross daisies or undead gophers. Scooby and Shaggy barely manage to escape, and I'm not gonna lie, the anxiety I felt in this scene when the zombies are trying to get through the window, or the moments before the jump scare with the zombie on the windshield, was enough to scare a kid into a heavy drinking problem. Of course, they run smack dab into that creepy, hunky gardener again, further suggesting that Velma might be right about him. Back at the house, Fred is hitting on Lena in front of his girlfriend with the boldness and confidence of a guy who's totally comfortable with never getting laid ever again. The real mystery of Moonscar Island is how Daphne hasn't had a revenge threesome with Velma and the gardener by now. When Scooby and Shaggy don't come back for a while, Fred, Daphne, and Velma go looking for them. Instead, they run into that extremely ill-tempered gardener again, and Velma finds a way to get him alone so she can dry hump his brains out against a tupelo tree in the swamp. She says she wants to keep an eye on him, but that's exactly what I would say if I were about to embark on a groin-gazing expedition. God, isn't it so hot when you think that a dude's about to murder you with like a large rock, but instead he saves you from quicksand? Yes, Daddy, grab me by the wrist, save me from that quicksand. Daphne and Fred stumble upon the mystery machine abandoned in the middle of the woods. At first, they don't see Shaggy and Scooby, but they do see a zombie. When everyone's favorite stoner duo do arrive, Daphne and Fred take turns trying to rip the mask off their latest villain. To their surprise, Fred yanks the head right off the zombie, and the gang realizes that the zombies are actually very freaking real. Zombies start popping out everywhere again, but Fred is still acting like Scully from X-Files about whether or not zombies are real. And the dumbass drops his camcorder in the quicksand. God damn it, Scully! That's what you get for being a skeptic. After a lengthy zombie chase montage, Scoob and Shag roll right into a secret voodoo lair. There they find some creepy-ass wax dolls shaped like their friends. Back in the woods, the gang is being levitated by an unknown force, and Shaggy and Scooby are back in the cave learning how to play with occult objects for the very first time. Ugh, you stupid stoners! Those are voodoo dolls, and you guys are throwing them around like a couple of G.I. Joes! The gang manages to run back to the house to look for Lena and Simone, and Fred falls through the staircase into Lena's arms. Still not sure why Daphne hasn't put this bitch in a full Nelson for fondling her dude, but whatever. Lena feeds them some BS about how zombies dragged Simone away, but Velma's seen enough episodes of Forensic Files to know that there aren't any drag patterns in the dirt. Instead of whispering that to Daphne and Fred, Velma just follows Lena into a dark underground tunnel with her friends. Come on, dude, if you see something, say something! Oh, okay, so you're gonna wait to confront her till she gets you in her murder dungeon? Simone suddenly appears out of nowhere, manipulating their voodoo dolls and causing them to levitate. Finally, Velma realizes the bow had nothing to do with the zombies, and now they can get they freak on. At the base of a giant flaming cat statue, Simone explains that when the moon dial hits midnight, she and Lena will sacrifice them to the cat god and use their life forces to re-up their immortality. Okay, again, cats are fine, but dog people would never trap you in a basement and sacrifice you. Meanwhile, on the docks of Moonscar Island, Shaggy and Scooby run right into the fairy guy Jacques, who also turns out to be an undead voodoo kitty. For some reason, it's even more disturbing that he morphs into like a jacked, muscular version of Meatloaf and starts running away on his Dwayne The Rock Johnson-sized thighs. Back in the cave, Velma is being a total dumbass and antagonizing her captor by accusing Simone of stealing Morgan Moonscar's secret treasure. Of course, because she is a villain, she has to give a long, lengthy speech explaining why she's so evil and how she's so zombie to the group. According to Simone, she and Lena were part of an ancient cult that made the island their home so they could worship their cat god in peace. This sounds like a punishment for what happens if you're still not married by the time you're 37, but okay. Moonscar and his pirate friends pillage and plunder and don't give a hoot, and Lena and Simone are the only survivors. They put a curse on the pirates for all of eternity, but the cat god's curse ends up cursing them too. More settlers came to the island over time, and Lena and Simone devoured them one by one. Now, they lure strangers to their island every harvest moon to feed on their souls to stay young. Okay, first of all, get some better Botox than those souls, ladies! Your foreheads are starting to look like Keith Richards' entire body. Second, oh, that's where all the little zombs came from. They're the husks of all the souls Simone and Lena already ate. It turns out that the zombies were just trying to warn Mystery Inc. about the crazy cat ladies, and they end up saving Scooby and Shaggy's lives from Jacques the Steroid Puss. This leaves our guys free to try to find their friends in the cat torture basement. Just as Simone and Lena are about to prey on Daphne, Velma, Fred, and Bo, Shaggy and Scooby come crashing into the cave. This triggers their Hulk cat reflexes, and they go full werecat. The cats accidentally kick the voodoo dolls too close to the fire while they're chasing Scooby and Shaggy, and the rest of the gang starts to melt. Horrifying. Luckily, some sweet, tender little zombies come in to save those stoner boys, and Velma manages to get the rope off her voodoo doll and untie the others. The gang manages to distract the cat people by spraying peppers in their eyes and messing with their voodoo dolls, until finally the shadow passes midnight on the moon dial, and Jacques, Simone, and Lena's 9 lives are over. Unlike the ending to every other Scooby-Doo episode, the monster's flesh melts off their bones beneath the harvest moon in the most metal way possible. Seriously, how is this for kids? Luckily, that means that all the zombie guys melt too, and their spirits are finally set free in peace. Even though Daphne and Fred lost all their footage in quicksand, never fear! It turns out that Man Candy Gardner is actually a detective. Maybe now that he's off the case, he'll let Velma see his private dick, if you know what I mean. What the hell? They didn't even kiss? What, so you can be practically R-rated with the zombies, but we can't even get a little PG-13 over the jeans action? Come on! This is why I thought Scooby-Doo was much scarier as a grown-up, but I wanna know what you guys think in the comments. Like and subscribe to Nerdwire, check us out on Plex and Roku, and I'll be back next week to ruin your childhood.